Hello again. Let's do this drawing of this nude male that we've got here today. And let's start by grinding the charcoal, giving a little bit of a sharpen edge. And let's start with the axis line. You got the upper body this way. Then you have the kneecap and the shin that way, and his thigh and the shin. So that is the upper body, maybe a bit more to the left, so I've got more space here on the composition of the drawing. I can give it also a little bit of a frame here, so we frame the figure. Where to draw. Then a little bit of a going up like that. Okay, we've got the head here. Head, left arm, upper body, right arm, elbow, his right hand. That's the light is coming, light sources from the left, and then you have a shadow here on the face, which is basically the cast shadow of the upper arm. And you have the upper body, torso, upper thigh, the right thigh, shin here, it's dark, shin just gets inside the thigh here, and you have the left thigh a little bit more bendy that way. You've got the left calf and the foot itself. And then the shin bending a little bit more outwards. Inwards, the shin. Bending it not outwards, inwards, that way. Shadow, as the light, as I said, comes from the left, light source, but also from the right. So there's a double light, left and from the right. That's a cast shadow of the thigh. It's a little bit of a middle tone here. And you got the head, and he's got his left hand. Also, it looks like he's disturbed by the projector. He cannot stand the strong light coming from his right hand side. That's a shadow of his upper arm. I'm trying to get the outline, the correct angle of the outline of the torso. Here, as I said, we have the hand. Very dark background. We don't see the foot, the right foot, cannot see it. You got the shin coming this way. doing a big turn. You have the thigh, bum, lower it a little bit so I can increase the size of the whole upper body. So that needs to be increased in size. This one needs to be. I can see this necessity. Then possibly the length or the outwards length of the elbow could be a little bit more towards the right. So let's pull the elbow a little bit further out. And then I can increase the size of the lower arm, left lower arm. Then you have the cast shadow of the head over his left upper arm. Bone. And that's the very strong muscle structure here. I think I need to intervene a little bit with wrist bone. Was that? I need to do with some brushes here. Let's get the brushes working here and then soften all these dark tonal values. Soften all these tonal values. Left bicep. As a cast shot of the head over the left upper arm. Head. Hand. Left hand. I'm actually softening the dark tones that I have here, which is the background, for the sake of uniting or showing the most light areas on the upper body, upper arm, also body. Middle tones here on the breast, middle tone here too. That's the rib cage. Unify those very dark background noises. What I mean by noises, too many background sharp edges. Here the calf here. Take some dust from my sandpaper. Shin. And then I can darken and unify those very, very dark areas. Again, a little bit of a middle tone here, a little bit more rounded the thigh. And then darken a little bit the background. Darken the background. So it brings a little bit more light on the body, wherever it is needed. Okay, getting the turn of the toe, big toe and the small toes as well. I think it's needed a little bit of putty rubber to intervene and bring back those highlights. Calf. Knee cup. Bit more bulgy thigh. And upper arm, his left upper arm, get his nose somewhere in the middle of the face, which is somehow lit up a little bit. Well, first of all, let's get his hand here. That's his hand. And that is the upper arm. Side of the face. And the nose a little bit. Eye. And kind of a mouth here. That's the hand here. Elbow, wrist, and the rib cage. Highlight of the elbow. His right elbow. This area here is all dark because that's the background. But then I have some reflected light. There are two light sources on this one as well. So one comes from the left and one comes from, there's another one from the right. And here you have a lot of light here. A lot of light here on this. On the thigh, lots of light here too. Keep that in mind when you start drawing it. There's the cast shadow there. That's the bicep. And this is the lower arm. Wrist. Give it a little bit of a sharp edge on the thigh, but just here. Now why just here? Because if you emphasize the whole thing, the whole thigh, then it becomes a theme. It will be too dark, the line. upper body. And then a lower arm here. A bit more emphasis on the lower arm. His left lower arm. Some reflected light on the lower left calf. See, turning the end of the foot towards us. And then you have the foot itself, toes, I'm inventing the toes, they're not there actually. And then his pants, just for some emphasis, as it is too middle tony, all this area. So it needs a little bit of emphasis here. I'm trying to isolate this shape, which is kind of a sharper at the top here, with some accents like this one. And then a very dark accent down here. Because here, right here, it's the other light source which gives us some light, which is this area here. It's the thigh reflecting the light. And you have still some light coming from the left. And it catches a little bit of calf here. There. Hello again. So let's do it. Continue the drawing by day, daylight, with the daylight. Now, we've done those darks, mid-tones that I had previously. And I think I need to insist on this one, which is the gluteus, part of the bum, which is a little bit flatter. We don't actually see it as much, but we know that this part is quite flat here. There. On the thigh itself, we had that highlight yesterday. A little bit of the shin here, which goes and enters the thigh, the left thigh, middle tone here, middle tone here, and a little bit of middle tone on the calf, on the shin here. I think I need to soften all that. That would be better. It's aesthetically pleasing when you do it this way, which is basically the calf and the shin. This is the calf, you have the shin here. Calf is a bit wider and the shin could go a little bit thinner here. So I could actually lose that line and use some dust, charcoal dust, which I'm going to grind it here. So that will be useful. Need to drop or raise, because I think that length from the kneecap to the end of the shin is a little bit long. So I can probably, what I should do is drop that thigh a little bit lower here. And have the shin, looking at the original, it's not an inward line all the way. It is an inward line, but it's not as intense. So it comes a little bit there. It just bulges a little bit out here. Just a tiny bit, not much. And maybe on the calf, get that area where the muscle of the calf continues with the rest of the foot. There. And bring the bring the foot itself, which we can see middle tone. Get it there, and have the toe, big toe here, and the second biggest toe, which is the one, or the middle toe, if you like, and the other toes, they're coming down here. But we need to keep in line and keep in check that the shape of the foot comes this way, and bring that. So I can see the foot now, but maybe for that length of the body, for that height, the foot is a bit short or small. So I'm thinking of increasing it in size, making the big toe bigger, making the second biggest toe slightly bigger, and then so forth, little toes there. And then you have the foot itself. And then maybe getting that fleshy bit of the toes here, around it here, there. But anyway, it's just a matter of, I'm trying to make the forms a little bit simpler, simplifying the forms, making them a little bit more comprehensible. And I can put that crease of this thigh a little bit further back, and have the shin slightly darker, and the kneecap a little bit lower here, or a little bit darker tone of value. Then you have that bone structure which connects the shin, this one, between the shin and the kneecap. Try not to make it too dark, otherwise it would be, or attract too much attention, and don't want more than it needs, more than it's necessary, the attention here. There. Okay, so the legs Both legs are kind of sorted. Get a little bit more belly here. Bring up the rib cage. A bit more belly. Middle tone here. Right there. Middle tone here as well. That's his nipple. A bit further up. Further up the nipple. Bring then the armpit a little bit further up. I brought the nipple quite high up, but in that case I need to bring up the armpit. A lighter tone. And middle tone here, and slightly lighter here. Not as dark as that. Get that elbow a little bit more intense here. Bring the wrist bone, the bone of the wrist here. That's his right hand. And the left hand here, which is basically you got fingers here, and the hand itself. Eyebrow, eye, head. Ear is somewhere here. Neck. And the shoulder. What I need to get a little bit darker here, or middle tone, is the dark shadow. The cast shadow of the upper arm on his neck. And here you got the chin. These darks are a little bit less dark. The whole thing is here that we've got the hand. And the hand is hiding the features. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to identify where the features are, but we know they're there. Okay, I've got a different view now. So I'm concentrating or focusing on the upper arm. So I'm trying a little bit of a different approach to the video. So this is the hand of the left arm, and sorry, that's the hand of the right arm, sorry. This is the hand of the left arm. So he's holding this hand over his face, and now I'm thinking of, these are the fingers. That's the middle finger. And that is the palm. The palm, I've done it quite wide, so I'm getting the palm a little bit smaller. Smaller in size, in width. So with my brush, because I don't want to use my finger, then my finger will obliterate the dark. We'll just lift the charcoal quite easily. So bring that more into line with the length and the size of the arm. Oh, we've got some bees here. get in the house. Sorry about this noise. And then you have the bicep, which is probably a little bit wider. Yeah, wider up here. Now this is the side of the face where we do not, where it's lit, where it's been lit by the light in the studio. That's quite light. The eye could go a little bit further up now that this is the hand itself, which is much smaller in size. And then you got the eye here and the nose here. Nose here. And soften the rest of the features, which we actually almost cannot identify where they are. It's very little light there. And this is the other side of his face. Eye. His eyes are closed. This is the hand. That's a thumb. Thumb. The hand itself, as you can see here. Maybe a little bit. I can raise that middle finger there, make it a little bit more like that. Yeah, that will probably make the difference there. Okay, so let's focus again a little bit on the hand. Sorry about the bees that we've got here. They're not stingy. They're not stinging me. They don't sting. Yeah, they don't sting. They know me, so I'm safe. They're just annoying the noise that they make. Okay, so here we are. Clarify what's going on here. A little bit the upper arm. We said that's the body, torso, rib cage. Bit of a lighter tone here as well. Here, especially here. That's when you live in hot weather, Mediterranean weather. Cannot avoid the insects. When the doors are open, it's hot. Okay, that's the armpit of his left upper arm. And then upper body, and that's his other nipple. Get that shadow thinner or lighter. And the nipple a little bit less dark. It's not needed to be, there's no need to be as dark as that. Less dark. And as I said, get rid of that's the hand there. I'm trying not to do the features, work with the features. Eye. Nose. And a tiny bit of lips, and that will be enough. Upper lip, lower lip, and the chin itself. There, and a tiny highlight of the other side of the cheekbone here, and you got the palm of the hands, palm, and bone structure of the elbow and the wrist. Some highlight here. There. Okay, now with my charcoal, with those lines there, reinforce the marks that I've done with the putty rubber of the eye, eyebrow, nose, upper or middle of the mouth, and then the chin, and a little bit darker here, which is basically, as I said earlier on, this is the cast shadow of the upper arm on the neck and on the face, and give him a little bit of cheekbone on the other side, eyebrow, eye, nose, lip, eye, eyelid, and the eye looking in the same direction. Hair, ear. Now you cannot see the skull because the skull is behind the arm, lower arm. That's the shadow, because the light comes from that side, which is basically, there is a light here, a light on that part of the upper arm, and then you have the elbow, which I can extend it, make it a little bit more intense, that light, or that dark line of the elbow. Then you have the armpit and the cast shadow of the head above his upper shoulder. Need to soften that dark line, although it's dark, but it's not as sharp as that, and then it's part of a darker tonal value. All this area here, part of a darker tonal value, which is basically a cast shadow. And a little bit lighter, darker here, where is the rib cage, bone structure of the elbow, where the elbow meets the shin. Get that highlight, that's the calf basically, so I can bring a little bit more bulgy line here because that's where the calf is. That's where the bulgy part of the calf is. And get that thigh a little bit lower as well. Here, get the thigh a little bit lower. Oh, look at this monkey. He got on, he wants to catch, that cat wants to catch the bees. And look where it got, on my window. Say hello. Hello. You stay down. Stay down, down. Good cat. Got the cat down because it's on the window. It's where I'm actually drawing. It's impossible to draw with the cat so close. And then that's the thigh. Give it a little bit of a darker tonal value here, which emphasizes the kneecap. And the kneecap here. Okay, I'll spray it and I'll give the last few touches. Okay, let's do the last few touches, which are, that is the turn of his foot, the part where the part where you walk, and that is a bone structure of the upper foot, which is probably a little bit more bony than what I've actually done in the beginning. This is some highlights of the calf here, and the shin, which I've made it a little bit wider there, just widen it a little bit more, there. The thigh that we've said earlier on, just keep that, brighten it up. And with a tiny touch of the brush, just a tiny touch of the brush, get that sheen going on here all the way up. So that will distinguish the thigh from the shin, but not with a line, with a middle tone. That's more than enough. And the kneecap here, kneecap, well, we don't actually see the kneecap, but we know it's there. You have a very soft tonal value here of the kneecap, which gets a little bit darker. This is where I've said that's where the calf gets a little bit more bulgy here, the bone structure, the muscle. A bit more muscly here. As the kneecap gets there, it just takes the shape of the, there. That's the calf. This is the thigh. Let's make them slightly softer than that. Softer, softer, softer. And that is the, there, a little bit softer lines. And I can now bring up shoulder and a little bit bulgier or wider upper body. Wider upper body. There. And get the elbow here. Get the wrist bone and the upper arm, upper hand. Then you have bone structure of the wrist, and getting back and forth here. This is where we've said the thumb, that's the hand here, these are the fingers, middle finger, small finger, and the rest of the fingers are there, which we don't see. You have hair, and these are where we said earlier on, the eyes, nose, a touch for the lips again, eyes here, and yeah, we've got the face there. Okie dokie. Okay, I think I'll leave it because it's gone a little bit too. It's been extended too much. This video it's way longer than I was actually wanted it to be. But it's more detailed. It's got lots more information for us to follow. So it's more helpful when you do it, when you do a long study instead of a short video. It's a little bit darker here. We've said this is the cast shadow of the upper arm. There we have it. Okay, and that upper body here, the line here. There, the upper body, or the line of the upper arm. Sorry, not the upper body, the upper arm. And some highlight here on the, again, upper body, a bit wider. The upper body here, a little bit of lighter on this chest, and some highlights here where his the six packs. A little bit lighter here to distinguish the secondary light which comes from the right and the light coming from the left here. Rib cage, and I think it's ready. Okay, see you on the next video. Bye-bye.